Hi, Peter Jones, Chartered Surveyor, author and property investor, and I've had a fantastic question from Giuseppe. Paraphrasing his question, he's basically saying, hi Peter, which SIC code do I need to use for my serviced accommodation business? And this is a really interesting part of the question, should I be including my wife as a director now when I set my limited company up? So let's have a think about that. Now, Giuseppe is setting up a limited company in which to buy his properties. Why? Probably because of everything that's happened with Section 24 and the tax changes, and it's a more tax efficient way of holding our properties. A SIC code is a code which shows the activity of the company, and you'll tell Companies House when you set up your limited company, or actually, to be factually correct, the SIC code actually becomes important when you do the first set of accounts, but it'll tell Companies House exactly what the activity of the company is, and perhaps more importantly, if you go for bank finance, which you probably will and should, it will tell the bank what the activity of your limited company is. Now, any limited company can have up to 4 SIC codes, but what I'd suggest is that rather than having one limited company which undertakes multiple activities, within property that is, I hasten to add, that you have one limited company per activity. So for example, if you're going to buy and hold properties as buy-to-lets, then have a limited company for that. If you're going to buy and sell properties as flips, then have a separate limited company, and so on. Now, there's 4 SIC codes in property, and let me just quickly run through what they are. There's 68100, which is for the buying and selling of own real estate. So basically, if you're going to flip, you'd probably want to have a company with a SIC code 68100. SIC code 68209 is for the letting and operating of own or leased real estate. In other words, if you're going to have buy-to-lets and you're going to hold them within a limited company, then probably 68209 is for you. We'll come back to that one because that's probably the one that Giuseppe needs. SIC code 68320 is for the management of real estate on a fee or contract basis. So if you think that your buy-to-let portfolio is going to get to a size where you set up your own management company, and that can make sense, by the way, and that gives you scope then to manage properties for other people as well and make even more income, then that would be the SIC code for you, 68320. And then lastly, 68310 is for real estate agencies, in other words, buying and selling a property. So if you're going to source properties, if you can do deal packaging, then that would be the SIC code for you because you'd be buying and selling properties basically for a third party. So to come back to Giuseppe's question, which SIC code should he use for serviced accommodation? Well, I'm not an accountant, but I would be thinking at 68209. If anybody thinks different, then please obviously leave a message or post underneath this video, whatever. But I would think it's 68209, Giuseppe. Now let's get on to the other bit of the question, which is, should you be including your wife as a director when you first set up your limited company? Well, let me give you a bit of experience which I went through. When I set up my limited company, which was many years ago, I was the sole director and my wife, the long-suffering Mrs. Jones, was company secretary, and that worked okay. Now, one thing which was perhaps a little bit inconvenient is we wanted to split our property income between us so that we could use our tax allowances between us, but HMRC were keen to see how much work Mrs. Jones was actually doing. We had to justify it. That was fine. She was doing bits and pieces for the company, and we could justify what she was doing, and we could pay her in proportion to the amount of time and effort that she was spending working for the company. Then, a few years ago, the government decided that they wanted all employees to have a pension fund, and that employers should be setting up some kind of pensions arrangement so that employees could pay into it. So at that stage, my accountant suggested that Mrs. Jones became a director. Why? Because we didn't have to set up a pension fund for a director. Now, before you think that I'm being mean to Mrs. Jones, her pension is actually the business. So it was, we didn't have to set up a separate, in reality, we didn't need a separate pension fund. So it was much easier to set her up as a director so that I didn't have to set up a pension fund for her to pay into. That might be something you want to think about, Giuseppe. But there was another benefit as well, because it turns out from discussions with my accountant that you do not have to go to the same levels of justification for a director as you do for an employee. As a company secretary, Mrs. Jones was deemed to be an employee, but obviously as a director, she's a director, and I can pay her whatever I like. It does not matter. I don't have to justify that to HMRC. So that makes it a lot easier to use our tax allowances and such like. So Giuseppe, I don't know is the honest answer, because you've got to talk to your accountant, you've got to go through your whole financial situation. But as a general principle, I'd be saying yes, probably now is a good time to set your wife up as a director. So I hope that helped. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about me, if you want to learn how I started in property, if you'd like to do the things which I did, then go over to my website. You'll find all of my resources, including my ebooks. And my best-selling ebook, which has literally sold thousands of copies, is the Successful Property Investor Strategy Workshop, in which I go through how I started, literally with no money of my own, how I went from 0 to 2 million worth of property in 4 years. Obviously, I've carried on since then, but that shows you how I got started. So if you're thinking about how to start, or if you want to ramp up your property business, that's a great resource for you to start with. You'll find that over at my blog, my website, www.thepropertyteacher.co.uk. Very important that you put THE in at the front, otherwise you'll go to somebody else's website, and we don't want that. So come to thepropertyteacher.co.uk, where you'll find loads of resources which will help you in your property journey. Until next time, here's to successful property investing.